Welcome to Care Less with Carly, the podcast for people who are done playing by their roles. I'm your host, Carly Lynn, and each week we'll cut through the noise with real talk, bold conversation, and expert insights to help you trade perfection for purpose and live life on your own terms. Welcome to today's episode of Care Less with Carly. I'm joined by Magleby and Caitlin Hansen. Today, they launched Mindless Labs, a first-of-its-kind model that pairs free mental health resources with gender-inclusive, very trendy streetwear that funds access to care. But what makes this more than a business is how deeply it's rooted in their lived experiences. I'm so excited to have you both on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here. And congratulations to you on the new podcast. We've been listening to some episodes and we have been really impressed.
I was motivated to start Care Less because I had been struggling with my own anxieties and fears and self-limiting beliefs. And I realized that by sharing my stories and by encouraging really inspirational guests to come on my show and share theirs, that I could reach people who are experiencing these exact same things. So I'm so excited to hear how Mindless Labs was formed and learn a little bit more about your stories as well. But first, let's talk about launch day. How does this feel for you both?
It feels surreal, I think. It's so exciting to be able to hear you introduce us and kind of sit with we've known this is happening behind the scenes for so long, but as of this morning, recording this, everything went live and the world kind of knows what we've been working on for the last year plus behind the scenes. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. And Chris, how about you?
Oh, it's a whirlwind of emotions. I think the biggest emotion for me is just feeling all the love and support from people that we care about. Yes. And so it's so cool to see how it affects, the ripple effect of it reaching other folks, but just to see how many people really care about this issue and have, like you said, you've felt your own experience with feeling anxiety or not good enough. And that affects so many people, whether it's someone directly or through a family member indirectly. And the thing that we've been moved by is just how many people want to help and are willing to help. So that's what we're trying to do, is give an avenue for them to be able to help.
Wow. It's incredible to have this idea and this dream and concept and bring it to life. And also, you both wrote your own playbook. At least to my knowledge, I have yet to see an app supported by a streetwear brand with QR codes. And so it's really not only innovative, but very impressive and near and dear to both of you. So I know a bit about both of your stories, and I know that both of you felt that you had that kind of success on paper, holding executive roles, working in venture capital. And beneath that, there were certain unravelings that were happening. If you could take us back into what some of those early moments were like for you personally before Mindless Labs came into the picture. Chris, maybe you start.
Sure, yeah. It's a lifetime of a story, so it's hard to pick where you begin. But for me, I had a really difficult experience in 2017. At that time, I was working for a health tech company called Pinnacle Quality Insight. We provided software for healthcare providers, and it was actually, things were going very well. Company was going well, my family life, my friend life, everything was going well. But I had these conflicts bubbling beneath the surface that I really didn't know were there. And they kind of erupted with a panic attack and kind of a mental break in 2017 that lasted for about 2.5 years. And it culminated with, it triggered kind of a bipolar disorder in me, and it culminated with a really gnarly manic episode in 2019. And so it took my world and turned it upside down, essentially. And I had to go on my own healing journey. And the good news was I found healing. I worked with a lot of great therapists. I found a lot of literature out there that was very helpful to me. A lot of mine was rooted in finding my own personal spirituality. Yes. And so I had grown up religious. I stopped practicing that religion when I was 30 and never really found my own replacement for that spirituality. And a lot of my collapse was based around that. And so it was a very beautiful spiritual awakening time for me, but it was also psychological, and I had to to, go to therapy and work through a lot of things. But I started to feel better right at the time that the pandemic came. And so I was kind of on the uptick when everybody else was going down. And so what that allowed me to do was start helping a lot of my staff. We had probably 150 people on my staff at that time. And as they were starting to kind of go through some of that difficulty, I was able to share what had been helping me for the last 3 years with them. And I found that I had this huge passion for it. And it almost felt like kind of my calling to be able to do that. And so over time, that just slowly little things happened in my life that led me to where we are now. And I knew Caitlin, but we got together, we worked on a few things, we had some ideas, and life just kind of took over and took us on this path together. So that's a little bit of my story.
And Caitlin, let's have you share your story, and then I want to follow that with asking, what were some of the resources you wish had existed when you were going through those difficult times? But first, Caitlin, I'd love to hear a bit about your story.
I would love to share. And that second piece of the question, I know we have a lot to comment on as well. And hopefully we've created a lot of that at Mindless, which was part of the plan here. I mean, to go back more than a decade ago, I spent the first 15 years of my career in television and news. And I was showing up every day, putting on a happy face to look confident on camera. But behind the scenes, what was really happening for me was my life was kind of quietly falling apart. And I was feeling like I wasn't living for myself, and I was showing up in all these ways to fit into this world, into a box of spirituality, into a persona, into a relationship, and all of these things that I thought would bring me love and belonging, and that people would accept me if I lived in that way. And really what was going on inside that I was totally ignoring was this little part of me that was thinking, like, this isn't it. Like, I can't feel this way for the rest of my life. And after time of continuing to push that down and ignore it, what ended up happening is I would panic, and I would just like wake up in this panicked feeling that the life I'd created for myself was not what I wanted and not what I wanted to live with forever. And it created this impulsive, frantic feeling in me every day. And one day I woke up and I just was sitting in my kitchen, and I just had the thought that no one truly knew me, and the true me, because I was living to try to belong. And then if no one truly knew me, then how could anyone truly love me? And I think that was, for me, it was kind of the cracking open point that led to a total breakdown and breaking apart of everything in my world, my spiritual beliefs, my religion, my relationship, my own persona, my psyche, and everything had to fall apart in order for me to get from this place where I was living in this life that like looked really good on the outside, but it felt really bad to me inside. And so uprooting everything was kind of the beginning of that. And I did go through a career that I thought I loved in television news, and I did for a long time. But when it started to feel not aligned for me, I didn't listen for too long. And then going into something else that I didn't love and didn't feel aligned for me. And finally finding something with Chris that fell in our lap after I'd gone through years of my own healing journey, which of course isn't linear, right? I did spiritual work. I went to therapy. I journaled. I read every book and consumed every podcast that I possibly could just to try and feel a little bit more alive. And I think that is part of my passion behind Mindless, is reaching those people that felt like I did, of like, is this it? Isn't there more? And can I feel better than this? And giving them hope to know that you can feel more alive. And you don't have to hit rock bottom necessarily, like Chris and I think that we did, in order to get there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you both for sharing those stories. And there's so much beauty and purpose that's come out of both of your hardships. And like you mentioned, Chris, healing. So to go back to that question, what can we expect from Mindless? How were you able to put what you wanted to see, those resources that you were longing for, how were you able to put those into the app?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of helpful resources out there, and there were great things that I found and used. I mean, I used a lot of different meditation apps. I think the first one I started with was Headspace, and I loved Headspace because of the way it explains mindfulness to you. And so then there are also helpful apps for like one-on-one therapy. There's things out there like BetterHelp or Talkspace, and I think those are helpful. The cool thing is there are so many tools out there. There's so much technology. Everyone's a little different, and some things work for some people and some things don't work for other people. So what Mindless Labs is it sits in kind of between that one-on-one telehealth app and a mindfulness app. So we have practices from different practitioners that you're not doing one-on-one with a practitioner, but it's a little bit more than mindfulness. There are some mindfulness practices in the app, but most of our stuff has been authored by mental health professionals. That is something that's a little more robust that you can do on your own. An example of something that I wish I had to answer your question specifically, that I wish I had when I was going through it, I like to use an analogy of like going to the doctor. You know, if you hurt your knee or if you have like an ear, nose, throat problem, you go to a specialist, right? What I didn't know is that there are lots of different types of specialists. There's lots of different modalities that you can seek out and that can help you depending on what you've gone through. So your psyche has, there's a lot of different parts to it and there's a lot of different ways to heal it. So all I knew was go to therapy. So like when I was bad, I was like, I got to go see someone. And as I was trying to see someone, to get into a psychiatrist, the wait time was like 5 months. And at one point I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to make it 5 months if I don't get in to see someone right now. And so I ended up working with a lot of different therapists. One of the therapists did EMDR with me, which was working through some traumatic things that had gone through in my past. And that was very helpful, but I really didn't know what EMDR was. I didn't know about that modality. I didn't know about all the other types of modalities. I didn't know what CBT is or inner family systems or parts work or, all this stuff that it can be very helpful. And so what we're trying to do is educate people about all that. So as you are not feeling well, you can start wading into the waters and understand, okay, who are the different types of specialists? The same way you go see a specialist for different parts of your body. Who are the specialists of the mind and who can help with different modalities? And the cool thing is, as we've been doing this, we've been learning more. And there's so many and a lot of beautiful different ways to heal. And we're trying to feature as many of those as we can in the app. Like we have a glossary that explains all of these terms and explains the different practices you can do and the different modalities that therapists are licensed in or specialize in. And so it's been fun. It's been helpful for us and, for our staff as we've been building it.
Of course. And that's actually really cool that people can use the app to learn more about what exists. I think a lot of people have their associations with self-care that's maybe a little myopic, but if they go on the app and they see, oh, wait, there's all these different modalities that I can try, and maybe this hasn't worked, but I could try this. I think that's really enlightening. And I know something that you've written in the mission statement is about really wanting to reach people before they hit that rock bottom moment. So introducing a lot of these tools would do just that. And now, Caitlin, for you, was there any specific modality or any favorite modality that's on the app that speaks to you and your journey?
Yeah, what's really interesting and something that I read about with your podcast when I was getting ready for this to meet you is like what you mentioned at the beginning is you wanted to have a voice and you wanted to share something and do something because of what you had been through. And that's kind of what Chris touched on that I think is so important to us is like, there's not competitors. We're in this landscape to collaborate with people. And your voice is, taking a stand to reach people in your own way. And we're doing the same thing. And there's so many great resources out there already that are doing the same thing. And one of our core values, actually, I promise I'm going to get to your point, is to make art. And just like how artists appeal to different people, we are trying to offer something that will hopefully speak to somebody if they just hear it in a little bit different way from us and will resonate with them and help them on their healing journey. And that's kind of the experience that I had on my path is, there were some days when I woke up and I actually did headspace like probably 20 times a day. Like it was what I held on to at that time. So there was a period where just that meditation and a little bit of breath work was everything that it was for me. And I've often joked with my friends, there was another chapter of my life where I said yoga saved my life. And so that worked in that space. I've had a ton of different spiritual, more holistic experiences, as well as traditional therapy too. And for me, there wasn't one thing specifically. Overall, it was something different through every chapter of my healing process that resonated with me. And if we can be a chapter in someone's healing process, I think that we've definitely accomplished what we've set out to do.
Yeah. It sounds like you can be so many chapters too, because like you said, healing is not a linear process and it changes. What feels good for you 5 years ago might be very different from what you need right now. And I liked how you talked about art, because my next question is about the integration of streetwear. blending an app, tech, streetwear, storytelling, and healing. This is very innovative and exciting. So, what sparked that idea for you both?
Caitlin, I'll let you take this one.
All right. One of the things I know, especially when Chris started his journey and came up with this idea, that he noticed was that there's so many resources out there, but there's not a lot of noise around them and not many people knew about it. And the other thing was that there's so many people that want to help but didn't know how to help. So this is kind of a blend of that, of making this wearable advocacy that allows people to wear our apparel and shine a light on the resources that are available through the QR codes that are on our apparel and linked to our resources, as well as giving people that avenue to help when they want to help, instead of feeling like, I don't know what to do, there's people around me struggling and I'm just standing by. So they're able to purchase that apparel, which supports the app directly and is able to, cut out some of those barriers that people face when struggling to get the care that they need. One of the statistics that really lands with us is that 1 in 5 people is struggling with mental illness. And of those people, half don't get the care that they need because of stigma and costs and access barriers. So hopefully being able to fund the app with these actionable thing that people can do is like purchase and wear and talk about our apparel and our resources is a way to blend things, and the way we're moving forward with this new idea to hopefully help move the needle for people that are needing the care.
Yeah. And for our listeners, and maybe Chris, you were going to touch on this, but for the listeners who might not be familiar with what the streetwear looks like or kind of what the vibe is, I mean, I can speak to it. The colors are great. They're very gender inclusive. You could wear them with anything, all different, very cool styles. But how did you come up with those ideas? What was the inspiration for that?
Oh, I'd love to chime in on that. But before I do, I want to just add one thing to what Caitlin said. She talked about this 1 in 5 statistic. And kind of one of our rallying cries, or maybe even like our thesis, has been, we feel like if we build something that will help that one person, the other 4 are going to show up and help. And that's really been our experience so far, is how many people really want to help. And so by providing, an easy avenue for them to help by wearing the clothing and then talking about it, that's why so to answer this question, where did the inspiration for all this come from? We wanted to give people something that they could talk about. So when they're wearing it, people would maybe would comment on it because it's interesting. It stands out. It's, when we first started Mindless, I was wearing like a tag from a conference and it said Mindless Labs pretty big on it. And I went to get a sandwich and the guy making my sandwich is like, what is Mindless Labs? And then we ended up having this long conversation about mental health and my journey. And he opened up a little bit about his journey. But what that did is that connected us to talk about something that's pretty vulnerable to both of us in a sandwich shop. And how cool is that?
Very cool.
And what was happening is that is what we were creating at the time, is that's the interaction that we wanted. And so for me to experience that was kind of one of the first interactions, but that's the idea behind it, is that when you wear it, it's a conversation piece. You'll talk about it. You can pull down, there's a QR code here on the sleeve or wherever it may be, and someone can scan that. It takes them right to the app. The app's free. They could get in there. They could start learning about the different modalities. They could do some of the practices. There's a journal that they could journal some of their experiences in the app. And so the last piece I'll say about this is that art just felt so important in what we were creating, because a lot of this, what you feel, is very difficult to express. For me, a lot of times was through music, was through different art pieces, was through cinema. So we wanted to create something that had that kind of an artistic bite to it, so that it would call to the part of people that you don't access through the mind. Maybe it's something that you feel in your body, something you feel in your heart, something that you feel through your emotions. And so, yeah, that's a lot of the influence into everything that we've created.
What are you most excited for people to experience when they use the app or when they interact with it?
Chris, I'll let you take that.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm very excited for people to put on the hoodie, because it'll be the comfiest hoodie you've ever owned. We spent a lot of time creating the clothes to be really, really, really comfortable. So I'm excited for that, for me personally. But from the app, I would say, to me, some of the practitioners that we partnered with are so talented. You can feel their heart in the things that they've recorded, in the sessions that they put together. I'm really excited. We've been working with them for a year and a half now. And we'll have our advisory group meetings because they advise on a lot of the creation of the app. And they'll lead us in these sessions where we will check in with ourselves or we'll do some breath work together. And the feeling that you get when you do that, it changes your whole day. And so I'm so excited for people to have easy access to those people through the app. And so that's probably what I'm most excited for.
Yeah. How about you, Caitlin?
I know Chris well enough that I could tell that he was bursting with excitement to share something. So that's why I kind of teed it off to him. I think, Chris and I have worked in different lines of the business thus far. He's kind of overseen the app side and I've overseen the apparel. So it's been fun to get excited about what each other is working on primarily. So thanks for being excited about the apparel too, Chris. We also work very closely together, but I would say that the apparel has had so much love and effort put into it, just like the app. And I've had such a hand in that it's really exciting to see it come to life and to see the connection that it's going to make to helping. It's not just an apparel line. We keep saying it's this wearable advocacy and it's this conversation starter. And one of the questions you kind of asked a little previously is, where did this idea come from, and the colors and the designs and everything. And we wanted to create a really bold, beautiful brand and a really bold and beautiful apparel line so that it drew attention to us. And it put the spotlight on us so that people could find us. And like I talked about initially, is like there's so many resources out there that people don't know about. So that was one of the things on our mind when we were creating it, is let's make this so it stands out, so it draws people to us and that they can find us, and then we can find them and give them the resources that we're creating on the app. And the app is, it's so special, and those are the resources we're hoping to put out there that, Chris and I both benefited from when we were in our journeys. We're still in them and we're still benefiting from them, but there's a little bit of something for everyone, we hope. And it's really powerful to be able to see what's in there and know that it's helped us so much and it's going to help other people out there.
I will be the first to say that I love a comfy hoodie. So it's going to be my go-to. I love that anecdote, Chris, you shared about the conversation in the sandwich shop, because the big moments are not those big splashy moments. They're that quick exchange with somebody waiting in line for a coffee, waiting in the elevator, that quick moment that you connect with another person, you realize your humanness. So I love how big, like you mentioned, Caitlin, big and bold and really thought-provoking some of the pieces are. I know our listeners may not have seen them, but some really, like the ones with the overthinking on the back of the sweatshirt, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm engrossed in this. So kudos to you, Caitlin. It sounds like this was your focus, but to the both of you on making something so cool and innovative.
Thank you.
It was definitely a team effort. And if people are wondering what it looks like, they can go look on our website. Everything's live, which is fun to be able to say. You're catching us on the day that we first get to start saying that out loud.
What are your hopes for how this changes the conversation around mental health?
Again, like we mentioned, the three biggest barriers to getting care is the stigma around mental health, the cost barrier, and then access. So, obviously access, I think this is one of the things that we're able to provide. Is right now the app is available in the App Store and it's downloadable for free. So there isn't that cost barrier and anyone can access it from the palm of their hand. And then the stigma is a piece that really, it kind of hits home with me. I talk about this a lot. Is the person I keep in my mind as we're building this is my dad oftentimes, who, I was raised with him as like this atheist, I don't need therapy kind of care or whatever this woo-woo stuff is. And he's an incredible man, but like that is from his generation, how he was raised represents a sign of weakness. But being able to have it, in your phone, in your back pocket, in the privacy of your home, and that stigma is gone of maybe like I have to go face someone and sit in an office with someone, or someone else needs to know that I'm not doing okay. Hopefully this removes a little bit of that barrier so that people can say, I need care, and let go of some of the embarrassment or the ego or weakness to improve their lives, to start feeling better, to start feeling more alive, and to understand that they don't have to do this alone. They belong to a community.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I love that you said in your mind, like part of your why is your dad. I think it's really powerful when you can envision who you're doing this for. Mm-hmm. It's so much bigger. Chris, what about you? How do you hope this changes the conversation around mental health?
Well, our mission is that we want to help people become mentally healthy and radically alive. And that second part is really important to me because When I look back on my own journey, those difficult years really paved the way for a lot of personal growth that helped me achieve levels of peace, levels of joy, levels of deep fulfillment that I was unable to achieve before I had gone through that. And so what I hope is that people understand that the difficulty that they're going through, they're not trying to get back to baseline. If you keep going, if you keep working, if you use some of these tools that we have, or there's lots of tools from all sorts of people, that your life can transform in ways that you never thought were possible. And I think that's the beauty of all this, is that this is kind of a message of hope and of joy and of happiness. And so for us, being radically alive, we don't want to just survive. We really do want to be radically alive. And that would be my greatest hope for everybody that we reach, is that they can feel that same way.
So beautiful. I'm so excited that this is out in the world. It's going to touch so many. Going back to both of your origin stories, I want to bring this back to the concept around identity and the shifts that both of you went through. Now you're founders and entrepreneurs, and you both came from corporate. So how does your identity feel now in these quiet moments of shifting from that corporate structure into this brand new launch that's happening?
That's an excellent question. It can be a difficult thing. Identity, honestly, part of my journey was letting go of identity. And I think that like a lot of Eastern philosophy talks quite a bit about ego and identity and holding it a little softer than we're used to. We're used to gripping pretty tightly onto our identity. And I think in a corporate world, there's certainly a corporate identity that I've had to kind of go through my changes with. I love startup life. I really enjoy, it's very different than, being in a bigger company. But yeah, being the CEO of a larger organization is definitely different from,
I think we lost
co-founding
him
with
for a
Caitlin, the
second.
smaller
I'm not sure. Can
organization.
you hear me still, Carly?
I had to go through my kind of learning to let go of my identity in my personal life of who I am, or, what my role is, and just, I can be everything. I don't have to be one thing. I can embody all, I'm a complex person, and I can embody all of that. And in your corporate life, it's the exact same. And so for me, the answer to all of that, whether it's corporate life or whether it's your personal life, is presence. And so when you can really just be present where you are. And when I'm with my kids, I'm a father, and I'm trying to be as present as I can be. When I'm with my friends, I'm a friend, or if I'm on the golf course, I'm a golfer, or whatever it is. I try to be present, and I don't have this identity. I just have presence. And I would say that's the exact same thing in the corporate world. It's not about your business card or what your title is, or, any of these things. Just be present where you are and learn to enjoy it, because each of them has beautiful things. Each of them have their own hardships, but the way through is to be right there for all of it.
Well said. Well said. And Caitlin, for you, I know motherhood is on the horizon.
It's maybe days, maybe weeks away.
Wow. So. Okay. So you have now kind of soon to be two things brought into the universe in a relatively short amount of time. So I'm sure the topic of identity is top of mind for you as well. Would love to hear how you've been managing those shifts too, to now being a founder and entrepreneur.
Yeah, this is actually something that I put a lot of thought into. This happens probably in every career path at least, but especially being on television and working in broadcast news for 15 years of my career. So much of my identity was wrapped up in being a television news reporter and anchor. And that's something people recognize and can understand. And then when I transitioned out of there, it was kind of like the loss of identity that I felt. And then coming into venture capital, I'm creating this whole new persona. But one of the things I did learn through all of that is that neither of those things after a while felt aligned, yet the identity kept me going back to them and kept me hanging in a little bit longer than perhaps I should have, and finding a place today where I feel completely settled. I feel happier than I've ever been with my career, my relationships, my spirituality, who I am as a person. And I think the biggest thing, that I explained a little earlier that came out of that big awakening for me was radical honesty with myself and learning to trust myself again. When I was in the mess of everything, my lack of self-trust that I realized was that I didn't know if what I wanted. And I was choosing all of these things because I thought that's what I should choose. And the career I should stick with because people thought it was maybe sexy or cool. I had arrived at some point, or the relationship that looked so good, or, the spiritual or religious box to fit in. But when I left all that behind and I learned over a long process to trust myself more, that's when everything and all my decisions have started to feel so much more settled and aligned with who I am. And I feel so much happier. And that was, all of those things fell into place. And I felt like this opportunity when Chris approached me to work with him and build Mindless was I came from a place where I trusted myself to make these big decisions. And I knew what I believed in on all topics and what I cared about. And that's why I could dive in head first and know that this was not going to detour me from the path I was heading in again.
So much of what you said. A question I like to ask on the podcast is what's one thing you've had to learn to care less about in order to pursue a more aligned life? And you both kind of just answered that in different ways about how by letting go of all of the shoulds and the things that on paper were supposed to bring you happiness, you were able to get to this point of being on a path to doing something so impactful and really aligned with both of you. I have a couple of rapid fire questions to end with. I've never done this with two guests, so maybe Caitlin, you'll take the first one, and then Chris, you go first or the second one. What's one practice that's keeping you grounded right now?
I would say rest, actually. It's a really unique thing for me. I have got hustle culture and productivity dialed. I've got that unlocked. And for me, rest and almost boredom is something that has become a practice for me, especially leading into motherhood and having my body kind of slow me down. The hard parallel where I'm living in right now where my body is asking me to slow down and our business is also ramping up. And so for me, the practice right now is just to rest and to not feel that need to be part of hustle culture.
Yep. Chris, how about you?
I would say, there's a few breathing exercises that our chief wellness officer, her name's Madeline, she goes by Mads, has taught us recently. And I've been doing them quite a bit that have really been helping me stay, what's the word I'm looking for? Like soothes my nervous system real quickly. Just some real simple breathing. So you can find some of those in the app, actually.
Are there any favorite ones that we should look for?
There's one that's called the Crazy Calm Breath, and it works really well. There's a new one that she just had to start doing that's so easy. Maybe we do it together for a second. It's
sure.
It's kind of funny, but you're going to go 2 breaths in through your nose, and then you go, whoo. On your out, you can almost say, whoo. But when you say on your out, there's almost a vibration that's happening in the back of your throat. So we go, whoo.
I already feel the energy.
And you can just feel you'll get a little lightheaded, not too much. You don't want to be hyperventilating. But so sometimes when I'm really stressed in the last week or so, I just started doing that breath as I'm driving. It doesn't affect me, so I can't drive, but I can feel my body just relax. So that one we just did together, that's not in the app yet, but it will be. But there's one called Crazy Calm Breath that is really nice.
I'm definitely going to check that out. I live in New York City. There are many moments where I could benefit from some crazy calm breath. Okay, maybe Chris, you'll start with this one. Can you tell us about a time in the past year where you felt deeply human? I know you guys talk about the messy middle. So is there a moment that stands out where you were like, wow, I am alive?
Gosh, all sorts of them. I would say, honestly, the one at the top of my mind is today. There's a lot of feelings launching something, especially something I've been so passionate about this is a culmination of my journey since 2017. And it's been a culmination of our journey for the last 18 months. And so you can get a picture in your mind of a way it's going to go. And then sometimes it exceeds those expectations. Well, some of the things exceeded my expectations today, and some things didn't go exactly how I planned. And so it's like, okay, I have to remember, I've been through this before. I know, expectations, just like identity, are a prison, and you have to release all of that. There's a little while where I felt a little bumpy. And so I've really felt all the highs and the lows today of just trying to make sure everything is just right. There's little, we have QA'd the app so many times, but there's a spelling error or there's a little thing that will show up. There always is in your MVP. And so just kind of going through those emotions, I've really gone through a lot of them today.
Yeah. Yeah. I can only imagine. I mean, all of the lead up and then today's the day. It's like you're never really prepared. I don't think there's a founder out there who ever says, oh, yeah, the launch went perfect.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin, what about you?
I just wanted to say to Chris, we kind of joke about it and we're like, we have an app for that. If you feel stressed, if you feel like you're dysregulated, we have some tools for that.
It's so funny.
It's an interesting week to be asked that question. I'm kind of living in this deeply human space right now. I'll keep my emotions hopefully in check. I'm welcoming a new life with my first child coming in the next couple of weeks. And at the same time saying goodbye to my grandmother this week who passed away, who helped raise me and was very close to me. And it's brought up, these beautiful moments of gratitude for her life and the time I got to spend with her, and these deep moments of sorrow for loss and grieving that she won't be here to meet my child that we are soon welcoming into the world. And to me, that is like, there is humanity right there. It's like the cycle of life. Whatever you believe, what happens before or after you leave this existence that we understand, I've had to face what that means to me and a lot of different emotions in this week. And so for me, I think using some of the practices in our app, obviously we've had access before at launch today, have really helped me settle in some of those moments and just more sit with gratitude that I get to experience all these feelings, the full spectrum of emotions in this human life.
Right. Wow. I'm so sorry about your grandma.
Thank you.
It really, your heart is stretching, right? Stretching with the grief and with the excitement of new life. So
absolutely.
You articulated that so beautifully. Yeah, you're just sitting with all of it. How deeply powerful to be a human and experience it. Wow. My one final question, it's a short one, is in one word, what is the feeling you hope someone feels when they put on a Mindless hoodie or they open the app for the first time? Caitlin, we'll start with you.
Maybe I would say I can feel the feeling. It's like a peace or ease that they have found they've found a safe place. Like, okay, I'm here, I've arrived.
Wow.
And there's something here for me. That's not one word. Did my best.
It's okay. It's okay. We break the rules sometimes.
My word would be connected. I hope that they know they're not alone and that other people have gone through this and care about them, and we're all in this together. So definitely connected.
Wow. Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you both for all of your time and your insights that you've shared with us and sharing your vulnerability and for channeling that into building something that will touch so many people. It's really exciting to be chatting with you both on launch day, and I'll link all of your information in the show notes so our listeners can check out Mindless, and I'm excited to follow your journey and keep supporting you. Thank you both for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having us, Carly.
Yeah, you have a real talent for this. So I am so happy and honored to be a part of this.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm still in my early stages too. And I love the careless and mindless collaboration. We're removing certain things so we can find more of ourselves. I think that's the alignment.
Yeah, that's well
said.
So
thank you.
Right.
Thanks for tuning in to Care Less with Carly. If this episode resonated with you or reminded you to stop living by someone else's rules, I would love to hear about it. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, leaving a quick review means the world and helps more people find the show. If there's a guest you'd love to hear from, DM me their name at Care Less with Carly on Instagram or drop me a comment. I'm always looking for powerful, honest voices to bring into this space. Until next time, you got this. Keep caring less about what others think and more about what makes you come alive.